Welcome back to another episode of Expat Rebel. Today I'm going to show you an article I wrote about pre-construction or pre-sales and the pitfalls and dangers of them. Okay, today I'm going to talk about the pitfalls and precautions and navigating the risks of buying pre-construction real estate. Pre-construction real estate can really seem like a great deal. It's got great prices, they deliver later. It's usually called pre-sales down here in Mexico and elsewhere, so look out for that as well. And in a booming market like I'm in the middle of, actually here in Yucatán, Mexico, but also other expat-friendly countries, you'll see a lot of property offered at a lower price. You get to choose, maybe if it's a condo building, your preferred unit, enjoy the benefits of having a brand new home once they finish it. However, there's some pitfalls and dangers you need to be aware of. We're signing a contract with a developer. But I'm going to explain that in this video, and why it's risky and how to protect yourself from scams, delays, and losses, and some tips and advice from experienced buyers who have gone through this process and learned from their mistakes. First, let's talk about what pre-construction real estate is. It's when you buy a property that's part of a development project. It could be a neighborhood, a condo building, but the construction hasn't started yet. Maybe it's still in progress. Maybe they haven't even bought the land yet, even though they're supposed to. The developing units, before breaking ground or even finishing the construction, they need to raise funds for the construction and to generate interest in the project. So it's an ongoing process. It can be very attractive to buyers because of the prices. You get to customize your home, you get a discount, you get to invest in a potential growth area. It does come with some uncertainties and risks that you need to consider carefully. So why is pre-construction real estate risky? It can be risky for reasons. The developer may not have the legal authority to sell the property. In Mexico and all countries, the law requires that a developer has a clear title to the land and permits to build a project before offering it up for sale. However, some developers may not respect the law. They enter into agreements with landowners that are not valid or may change over time. This can lead to disputes, lawsuits, and cancellations that can affect the buyers who have already paid a deposit or the full price. A developer may not have financial capacity to complete the project, and you rely on the pre-construction money to finance everything. They start with no funds, not have enough cash flow or credit to cover the costs. And if the sales are slow or the market conditions change or the expenses increase, the developer may run out of money and just abandon the project, leaving the buyers with nothing. The developer may not deliver the property as promised. The developer may change the design, specs, the quality without notifying or consulting, and may also delay the completion date or fail to meet it completely. And the buyer may end up with a property that is way different than what they expected or paid for, or they may not receive it at all. The developer may try to cancel the contract and sell the property to someone else. As some developers may take advantage of the rising market prices and try to break the contract with the buyers who have paid a lower price. They may offer to refund the money. In my case, I got my money back. But this may not be enough to compensate for the lost opportunity, the inflation, or the legal fees 6 months later. Buyers may also have trouble finding property that suits their needs and budget. So how do you protect yourself from pre-construction real estate scams? If you're still interested in buying pre-construction real estate, you need to do your homework and take some precautions to avoid being scammed or losing your money. So here's some tips that I've gathered from lots of experts and buyers who have gone through this process. Do the research on the developer and the project. First and foremost, check the reputation, the track record, the financial stability of the developer. Look for reviews, testimonies, complaints from previous or current buyers. Visit the site, see the progress of the construction. Ask for legal documents that prove they own the land and the permits to build the project. Verify the information with a lawyer, notary public. In Yucatán, Mexico, and elsewhere that I've traveled around the globe, this is the biggest problem. So doing this will help quite a bit. Next, you want to negotiate a fair and balanced contract. Don't sign the contract that they give you. It's very favorable for them, and it gives you almost no power. So make sure the contract includes the following elements: the description of the property, the price, the payment schedule, the delivery date, the penalties for delays or cancellations, the warranty and dispute resolution mechanism. Just don't accept any verbal promises or guarantees at all. Get everything in writing and signed by both parties. Hire a professional to represent you and protect your interests. Absolutely. Do not rely on the developer's salesperson or closing agent, as they may have a conflict of interest. They're getting paid, or may not disclose some important issues, maybe even things they don't even know about themselves. Hire a lawyer, realtor, escrow agent who can review the contract, monitor the progress, handle the paperwork, is you in the best course of action. They can also help you enforce your rights and claim your damages if something goes wrong. And then, hey, be prepared for the worst case scenario. Buying pre-construction real estate is a gamble, and you need to be ready for the possibility that you may lose your money or your property, or it may take a lot longer. Have some type of backup plan if the project is delayed or even canceled. Save some extra money for emergency, legal fees, or alternative housing. Do not invest more than you can afford to lose, and do not put all your eggs in one basket, as they say. Some people have done that, actually quit their job, retiring, moving, get down here, and it's not ready. It was never going to be ready. Some recommendations I would make about buying a pre-construction anywhere in the world without knowing all the above and being very familiar with the area. That's the biggest problem I've seen with fellow expats unhappy with their pre-construction is they didn't know the area. Some have literally never visited the area at all. One condo building I've seen near my home here in Mexico is built all by itself in front of a crocodile lagoon, which makes enjoying the waterfront a bit scary. There's signs that say don't do it. It's well known by locals for not being safe for humans. No one goes near it because of that. And over the years, some tourists have ignored the signs. And so this is a known problem, but the developer sold pre-construction and built a decent looking condo just in a really bad location. I drive by several pre-construction sites when I go into the big city of Mérida, Yucatán, Mexico for my doctor's appointments and big city shopping. And many pre-construction plots haven't had any development in years. They're in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the jungle, half an hour away from anything at all. The developers will put up a nice looking gate and wall along the road near anything. It's just not near anything. Doesn't even have access to electricity or water because it's so remote. It will take forever or never to actually be developed. If you made a visit, you would see that, and that would trigger you not into the deal until they got a lot further. Now, some pre-construction neighborhoods are okay being pretty remote because they have everything. A pool, a walking trail, a cenote. It's a walled city on its own practically. Some of them actually have fingerprint readers in order to even get in. They're ultra secure. You can build dream home inside along with a bunch of other people, and it's really nice. And so if that fits you, that's great. But if you want to be able to pop off to go to a cafe or something, it's not practical. You're going to need to definitely have a car and be able to drive because you're out of the city. So a lot of people don't like that. Be aware of that. Also, a lot of these pre-construction deals have excellent websites. Really slick looking, absolutely fantastic. But again, a lot of their photos are AI images of what it may look like and not actually what's going on. If you go visit, you would be shocked. I've also caught a realtor here in Mexico that had homes and condos for sale and rent on their website, and they didn't have almost all of them. They were just listing that he found and added to his website to give him a big portfolio. And if you asked about one that he, of course, didn't know really anything about, didn't have even access to be able to rent it out, he would point you to one that he did. Again, only use professionals. There are professionals in countries like Mexico and other expat-friendly countries. There is a legal system, not as great as the U.S., and it's hard to enforce things, definitely in Mexico, which is why you want to do a lot of this up front so they don't get into a problem. I would warn about using Facebook groups, though, as not actually being helpful. Asking about particular realtors or development, pre-construction development deals and everything in a local Facebook group, like a local expat group, because Well, unfortunately, a lot of these people have alternative accounts and will post comments to say that's a great deal or a competitor's deal is not a great deal. And it gets very confusing of who's legit and who isn't. So I've found Facebook groups not be helpful besides the newest expat-friendly cuisine restaurant. It is helpful for that. And I've gone to many restaurants based on those recommendations. But actual condos or real estate and neighborhoods, not even just pre-construction, but existing, has been very confusing. So I don't really recommend that. In fact, many of the professionals that I've worked with, legit lawyers and realtors and whatnot, really avoid social media just because of this. They'll be really cautious about their reputation because some expats and of course some locals in your area will talk bad about them just to get their business to go to them or a friend of theirs. So I just for referrals and then let them out. Once I had a painter referred to me by a rich Mexican who had done a lot of refurbs on condos and houses in the area. So I thought he's had a lot of experience, and the painter was awful. In fact, I had to fire him and lay him off and replace him. So it doesn't always work out, but I will say that most of the referrals I've gotten from actual other professionals have really worked out. We bought a home here in Yucatán, Mexico, on the beach. We used people that we knew. We were in Mexico for about 5 years and in this area for about 2 years before we bought during the pandemic. So it took a little bit longer because the government actually shut down. But we had professionals help us along every step of the way. It was interesting having meetings with face masks on and everything. But we did that and we signed, and it was really well done. I loved our notary here as a lawyer, and he's the one that's really in charge of the real estate deal. And in fact, our realtor was there, and the opposing realtor for the buyer never even showed up. It was great. Just use professionals. And if you don't know what in the area yet, don't buy anything. Just rent until you understand the area. We rented for years before we bought a home. Me and my love were super familiar with the area. We were very familiar with Mexico. We knew what to look out for. We knew where we wanted to be and what type of house we wanted. At that point, we were looking at condos at first, but we were also looking at homes, and one came up that was just a great deal, and so we went for it. Always be very familiar with the area and just don't do it if you're not there at all. I've explained that in my guide to becoming an expat. Needs to be done in phases. You can go over to expat-rebel.com/30. It's a course on how to become an expat within 30 days, but also how to do it in steps. So I went from living in San Diego area to living in Mexico in 30 days. It was a full-time job, but I had the time, and some things that we missed, we were able to do later. Some things I had to fly back to the US and do. Honestly, most of it I could do over the phone or email. So it can be done. And then you want to be here wherever you want to go, whatever type you feel like, mountains, beaches, whatever type of weather, whatever friendly country you want to go to, and go and figure it out. Live like a local and not as a tourist. And so my How to Become an Expat in 30 Days course talks about how to do that. Little exploratory trips before finally becoming a resident of the area. So buying a place is quite honestly one of the last things you do. It may be involved in when you buy the place, you become a resident, or in some cases you can become a resident first and then buy a place. Whatever it is, different countries have different monetary requirements that they want and all that, and which changes practically every year. You want to, of course, be able to do all that. You have to do this legal paperwork to become a resident. But the process of exploring and figuring out and living like a local, just because you go to a hotel and live off the convenience food and expat-friendly restaurants and not really see the real Mexico isn't going to work. You need to be able to actually live somewhere. You may get an Airbnb for a month on vacation and actually go to the grocery store at a local place. Get familiar with what it's really going to be. Are you going to be happy doing this? And then once you figured out that, yes, I actually want to do this. Yes, I actually know where I want to go. Then you can start looking at maybe getting a pre-construction real estate. It can be a very rewarding experience because it can be a great deal. And you can be involved in what you want the inside of your house or condo to be like. And of course, if you're doing a house, exactly what it's like. Me and Mom bought an existing place and fixed it up. It didn't have a pool. We're pool people. We added a pool. But pre-construction, peaking great deal. Just follow these tips and advice, and it will reduce the risk and increase your chances of getting property of your dreams. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.